Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Star Wars Stuff Podcast, where we talk all things Star Wars. My name is Colin,
Craig 5 standing by.
and we're here to talk about, you guessed it, Avengers Doomsday. What a lineup.
Yeah.
Crazy. No, I'm just kidding. We actually have a decent amount of news today. It's kind of exciting. So
And there's going to be a lot more news coming in the next couple of weeks. So surprising that we have news already.
Right, exactly. So starting off, we have this new experience, which is going to be introduced over at Star Wars Celebration. It's called Star Wars Beyond Victory. The timeline takes place between Revenge of the Sith and A New Hope. It actually takes place during the same time period as Solo. And one great character, which I don't think any of us ever thought we would see on screen again, but we're holding off hope. The character Sebulba is in the game, and I guess he's like this mentor type character now. And it's kind of like a pod racing VR game, in a way. There's
It says mixed reality.
Yeah. So
that's
it is debuting on Meta. And then they're going from there, and they will actually have a booth over Star Celebration. They will also have an exclusive prequel comic to that game that you will be able to get as like a free handout if you go and try it out and stuff like that. So David and James, go check it out.
I have a Meta, so I'd be would love some Star Wars stuff for it.
Yeah, do it. Yep. And then also this past week we also got the debut of the popcorn bucket and cup that they're going to be doing for the 20th anniversary of Revenge of the Sith. However, sounds like each theater will have their own exclusive merch for it. So this is just the first of what we're seeing. They also did that for the Phantom Menace.
Yeah. That's cool. It's good to see they're honoring Star Wars, the episode 3. I'm definitely going to take my daughter to go see it.
If you can. Yeah, maybe.
Nice.
Yeah. I love that poster so much.
Yeah, I want to take the kids to see it. It's so different seeing Star Wars on the big screen than on the TV.
Yeah. I agree with that. I saw it when I was a kid because the original film came out on my birthday. So I was very excited when they announced it. I kind of assumed they would just because they did that for the Phantom Menace, and they didn't do that for Attack of the Clones, unfortunately, but I think that was during the time period where they weren't 100% sure if they were, of what they were doing with the releases and all that stuff. So down the road, we'll probably get Attack of the Clones back in theaters.
I remember when they were talking about doing them in 3D, and I was really looking forward to seeing like episode 3 in 3D.
Yeah. Yeah, because I remember seeing the Phantom Menace in 3D, and I remember how hype it was. And I remember when they released it back in theaters, and I was hoping, and I was that nerd that was hoping that it would be that Yoda would be a puppet and not digital. So I was, excited to see that weird Phantom Menace puppet again, but then it was the digital version. I was like, come on, man. And I felt like I was the only one in the theater doing that. I was like, oh, well, okay.
You might be the only one person living who wanted to see that hideous puppet again.
Yeah. Yep. And then we got Andor, which is coming up here as well. And you said you were rewatching season 1?
Yeah, I've been rewatching with my niece, and we just finished No Way Out, and she loved it. And so we just have, I think, 2 more episodes to go. And because she loves Star Wars too, she loves watching the shows with me, and she just hasn't been able to catch up on a lot of them. So nice. Such an incredible series. I will say it was a bit of a struggle in those early episodes, and I could see why a lot of people kind of gave up on it. But really, once you get to like that, what is it? I think the 4th or the 5th episode, it really takes off.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with that. I remember watching it for the first time and not really. I guess my expectations were kind of all over the place, especially after those first 3 episodes debuted, and it wasn't like your classic Star Wars either. It was Star Wars, but a very different take, a very dark take, um, and I don't know if you agree with this, but I think it has some of the best monologues out of all of the Star Wars projects that have come out. There's some incredible speeches.
Absolutely.
The,
Episode 10 especially, No Way Out, because you have Luthen giving one uh,
yeah,
and what's his name? I can't think of his name.
Kino Loy.
Kino Loy, yeah. And then
Yeah,
those 2 speeches alone were just phenomenal.
yeah. So I was over the moon when they were like, yeah, we're doing season 2, and I think it's a treat because they are going to be doing 3 episodes a week
Yeah,
until
well,
and,
crazy.
until May 13th, which ironically is the day right before my son is supposed to be born. But yeah, no, it's I'm definitely excited.
Your wife's gonna be having contractions. You're gonna be like, "Hold on! This episode, we gotta finish the episode.
It's so close.
Come on."
Oh man. Yeah. Yeah, no, I am excited. And then David and James will be at Star Wars Celebration. We'll be covering it here in the States, and then I'll be posting on Instagram with all the news and everything about it. David was able to get into 3 of the panels, and then a and then James was able to get into the Andor panel. So we've
So we're
got
probably gonna get to see the first 3 episodes.
that is what I've been saying. I've been saying that if you are going to the Andor panel, most likely they will do a thing where, they talk about the great highlights of the first season. They, talk about what's coming in the second season. And then they'll be like, because all of you are here you go, because that's what they did for Obi-Wan Kenobi. That's what they did for the Mandalorian season 3, when David and I went to the Lucasfilm panel that they had over there in London. So it's kind of like a tradition in a way. So I'd be kind of shocked if they didn't show the first 3 episodes, and
I
maybe
would I
like,
would be too.
yeah.
I would be too.
Um, and then I know a couple of people that will also be over at the Ahsoka panel as well. So it sounds like we have all of our bases covered for news coverage and everything. Are you kind of feeling FOMO for not going?
A little bit. You know,
Yeah.
it's a big trip, and my fear was going all the way there and not getting the panels. I saw people on Facebook today and they were devastated. I'm like, I would be so mad if I got
Yeah.
all the way to Japan and didn't get any panels. And I don't know, I just felt like the trip needed to be like a couple weeks to go over there, but I didn't know anybody that was going that long. So I was like, I'll just pass on it this time.
Yeah. Yeah. I was gonna say I am a little bummed, and I actually did get tickets. Like I was all set to
I did
go.
too.
Yeah, yep. Yeah, I remember that day. That actually popped up on my timeline a couple of weeks ago because I posted. I was like, it was a struggle, but we got in. And then shortly after Dragon Con last year, we found out that my wife was pregnant, and of course, the due date was around the same time as where it was very close to my son's due date. So I am bummed for not going, but I am excited for the next celebration. And uh I cannot wait to meet my son. So it's
Well,
definitely,
hopefully, I think the
yeah.
next one will be back in the States. So
Oh yeah,
I
yeah,
say there's a very high probability I go to that.
yep. But yeah. So, and it sounds like there's going to be a lot to um dive into, and they've got some interesting panels. They've got an interesting lineup. Um, Oscar Isaac will be there, which is super cool. I know the guys are excited about that. Doug Chang will be doing a whole panel talking about like the different behind the scenes stuff. Um, Honestly, April, uh, um, that almost the last week of April is going to be a busy week because you've got the first 3 episodes of Andor. And then at the end of the week, you have Revenge of the Sith coming back into theaters. And then you got May, which is always a big Star Wars month, always.
Yep.
So yeah, there is a lot to look forward to within the next couple of weeks. Super, super exciting stuff.
We should do some coverage of Andor before it comes out, like some recap episodes or something
Yes,
like
yeah,
that.
I am totally down. I bet the guys are down as well. In other news, how much do you know about this character? I know we briefly talked about it, but I just want your kind of
I know
perspective of what
very
this character.
little of. I don't even know how to say the name. Asbereth or something like that.
Abeloth, and she is basically the mother. Because in Mortis there was the father, there was the son, and then there was the daughter. And the mother in Legends is this very Sith oriented type character, but not Sith. Think of her as like the evil version of the father, where like he like jumps back and forth with balance, but she is just, you know, beyond that point. And the reason why I'm bringing
So
her
they were a
up,
couple. They were a thing.
yes,
So
and
I thought she was from a different storyline though, like because she was with the books or whatever.
yes, and I guess because in Ahsoka season 2, it's been rumored that Natalie Portman is coming back. And, you
Seems like
know,
an odd choice.
well, just now, just listen to this because I think it could work. So, um, in the comics, there's been different type of visions um of where Darth Vader is like, you know, he's doing his own thing and he sees like a premonition of Padme and stuff like that. And it seems like Abeloth could take on any type of form, and maybe, you know, if it involves, you know, the Force Ghost of Anakin or just something. I don't know. I'm just speculating because I'm trying to make this rumor make sense. Again, this is just a very highly big rumor. Is that Natalie Portman would come in and play this character that, which I think it would be a really interesting take. But I feel like if you are going to be doing a character like this, you've got to do it right, because from this picture alone, she looks pretty scary. And introducing a character like that into the canon, uh, uh, especially on screen, will be interesting. And I feel that um, we're going to be seeing a lot of Balin Skull because they recast the actor. So I have a feeling that he's going to play a big role. And at the end, Balin Skull was looking off into the distance into that lightning storm. And I think that might be like a portal into the world between worlds or something. We don't know exactly. It could be the layer of this character of Abeloth. We don't know, but the rumor is that Natalie Portman would come in and like play like a weird version of this character. My guess is she's just coming back as Padme. But I just wanted to address this rumor because of I think it's interesting and weird, and you know, it's not the first time that we've seen something interesting and weird in Star Wars. So
Yeah, it'll be.
yeah.
Well, I mean, with the Ahsoka panel coming up, maybe we'll get some more info in the next couple weeks.
Yeah, yeah.
If
That
Natalie Portman walks out on stage, that people
I doubt it. I doubt
there's
it.
going to be a
And
tsunami in Japan because of the people screaming so loud.
well, so the fact they're not doing a Revenge of the Sith anniversary panel is blowing my mind, because Hayden is going to be there. Ahmed Best is going to be there, but Ewan's recorded not to be. Natalie Portman is not recorded not to be. But then again, you look back, you know, at Celebration 2017, where we all met for the first time. And you know, it wasn't on the roster that George Lucas was going to be there. It wasn't on the roster that
John Williams,
yeah,
Harrison Ford.
right, that half of those actors coming up on stage were
Yeah.
going to be there. That wasn't on the roster. So they could definitely surprise and have them make some stage appearances. I don't know. I really am curious why they never did a season. I mean, not a season, but a anniversary panel. I'm very shocked by that because Revenge of the Sith is a fan favorite right now. People love Hayden Christensen. That was like his peak movie right there. I loved
Yeah.
him in Attack of the Clones, but Revenge of the Sith was just his to me his acting was just beyond remarkable. It was amazing, and the way that he transitioned into Anakin Skywalker, Jedi Knight, to Darth Vader was just a big deal. And people, I think, took that character for granted. But now, fast forward all these years later, and he's an icon. There's nowhere where people don't know who Anakin is and who Hayden Christensen is. So I'm
You
uh
know, well, remember we went to the episode 1 panel in
yeah.
Chicago, right?
Yeah.
And that was pretty rough. We were all fantasizing that Liam Neeson and Natalie Portman were going to show
Yeah.
up, and it was like all people from the art department. And everybody was so exhausted from the weekend. We were like half awake,
Yeah.
and we were just like, this is rough. So maybe they thought it was going to be something like that again. I don't know.
That was like on the last day too.
Yeah, I think it was
Yeah.
on the Monday, right? Or you think it was on a
Oh,
Monday or
well, yeah. So that celebration was interesting because that celebration was 5 days long.
Mhm.
It
Yeah,
was a long celebration. I loved every second of it. So but yeah, that was definitely a long celebration. Um yeah.
but they didn't have any of the actors for that panel.
They had Ahmed Best and they had Ray Park.
I
Wait,
don't
I'm
think
sorry. Not Ahmed Best. Ray Park was definitely there because he
I don't
told the
think Ray
story.
Park was there. I don't remember that.
Ray Park was there because I remember a specific story about him talking about of where he was doing a barrel roll as a Naboo guard, and they had to like tell him, like, hey, don't do anything fancy. You are just a guy in the background, and he just wanted to do something that would make that character kind of stand out. And you
I
do see him in the
really
movie.
don't remember that. I remember
Yeah.
the art department. I remember like Doug Chang maybe was there, and
Yeah.
some I don't remember any actors being there for
I
that.
can pull up a picture. Just stand by.
Oh, we don't want people to fall asleep. Unless it's like saved, it's like your screensaver. It's
Yeah.
oh, here's my picture with Ray Park on stage.
Let's see.
Well, let's see if they have. They got to have some surprises at this celebration.
Yep. Yeah. Ian McDermott was there. Ahmed Best
Ian
was there.
McDermott.
Ray Park. Yeah.
Are you sure that's the episode 1 panel though? The one on Monday?
Yes.
I really don't remember Ian
Craig, you were
McDermott
there.
being.
It was not that long ago.
I I have to tell you, I was half awake that day. I remember I was so exhausted. I was literally fighting to keep my eyes open.
Yeah.
It's been such a long weekend. I think did we camp out overnight for those panels at all in
No,
Chicago? I
no.
can't remember.
That was when they added the lottery system, which this year for Japan was not your traditional lottery system. It was more of a first come first serve. So like you like had to be in the room at the right time. It was not random.
It wasn't random?
It wasn't random as far as I know. It was you got into the room, you like it was like either you were first in line or something like that. And then some
Mhm.
people didn't know that you could apply for more than one panel. I know we know someone that applied for just the Ahsoka panel, but they didn't know
Mm.
that they could apply for more. And it was like,
It's
it's
gross.
unfortunate. I wish they had more advertising on it, but at the end of the day, it's like it's the Star Wars Hunger Games. Like, it's like every man for himself sometimes
Well, the
in
thing
that
that was
situation.
so frustrating is that how many of the seats were empty that they weren't completely filling them in, and hundreds of
Yeah.
people were getting turned away when there were hundreds of seats open.
You're talking about the Phantom Menace. I mean, not the Phantom Menace, the
Nobody
Rise of
was at that
Skywalker
panel.
panel. Yeah. No, at the Rise of Skywalker panel.
No, it wasn't Rise of I think it was Obi-Wan. There was a lot of empty seats for Obi-Wan.
Oh, in 2022, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. I mean, I thought we had pretty good seats. I was
we did,
very
but I would just remember how many were empty, and they had
yeah,
turned so many people away.
yeah,
And then, like, MegaCon for the panel there with the skeleton crew, they were really good about making everybody scoot in, no empty seats, get as many people in there.
yeah,
So that was really nice to see, that people weren't getting turned away when there are a lot of empty seats.
yeah. I hope they continue that
Yeah.
going forward. But yeah.
It's the least they can do to make sure it's run. People fly from all over the world to be there, and then they're turned away for an empty seat. That shouldn't happen.
Yeah, I mean, I know we got lucky for the Mandalorian panel over at Anaheim because we were in the standby line because we didn't get into the lottery, but we were standing there and I made sure that Brooke and I were like the first people in line. And then as soon as they, open up the thing, people were walking and then they started running. And we got up into like the balcony area and we were lucky, but it was overflowing. Like people were sitting on the steps, people were it was nuts for that panel. That was for like talking about season 3 of The Mandalorian, and then they showed a teaser for Ahsoka, which footage from that still hasn't popped up, and I'm really, really shocked by it because there was a scene on there that'll look like they were on the Ghost, and half of the original Rebels crew was on there, and we never saw that in live action. And I don't know if that was just something where like Dave Filoni was like, "Hey, here you go," but they were just starting to film stuff for that too, so it was very early on. But yeah.
So this year, what should we expect? Mandalorian and Grogu footage, Ahsoka footage. What else?
Well, there is the animations panel. I've already talked to James and David. I was like, we need to get someone over there because I got a feeling there is going to be some big news happening
I
over
think
there.
so
And
too.
yep, and then there's also going to be a games panel as well. So we don't know what to extent. It could be Star Wars Battlefront 3. It could be the next and final Jedi game. Like it could be anything. So would love to get some coverage on that. I'm also thinking that uh I don't think that it was the for shoot, I just lost my train of thought. Sorry. I don't think that this year's celebration is gonna be as big.
In what sense?
Like so there's been a lot of cancellations and it's a smaller venue and stuff like that. I just keep hearing from like different people that this year is smaller compared to past celebrations.
Size matters not.
Right. Right. Yeah. So I'm curious about the attendance because when Dave and I were in London, like it was packed. Like we were walking, and I remember we got to like a balcony area, and we just saw how like crazy like shoulder to shoulder people were. And I'm curious if it's going to be like that in Japan.
I don't know. I'm sure we'll get plenty of info from the guys that go. Do you think we're gonna get? Two-parter. Do you think we're gonna get any TV show news or like new TV shows unannounced or any new movies unannounced?
I don't think so. Traditionally, they really don't unannounce stuff unless it's like through like the media. I think it would be weird to like go on stage and be like, "Hey, we're not doing Dawn of the Jedi.
No,
Sorry."
no, no,
I
not
I feel like it would
unannounced.
be
Like
weird.
stuff that's been unannounced that they're gonna say, "Hey, we got this new show," or "We got
Oh,
this new movie coming out."
yeah. I I don't know. I feel like the I I feel like the main panels that are going to be happening and like the main announcements are going to be the ones that that are actually on record. So Ahsoka, Andor, Visions Volume 3, and then
You got to have a couple of surprises though.
and the Mandalorian Grogu. I think there will be. I just think that it will be all like solely based on those main panels. So I think we'll learn more stuff about the Mandalorian and Grogu that we don't know. Same with Ahsoka, Andor, and then Visions Volume 3. I don't think, in my opinion, I don't think that we're going to learn anything major about any of the upcoming projects that have been announced. So like Dawn of the Jedi, I don't think they're really going to talk about it. Just because of they traditionally would do that like at a Lucasfilm panel type thing that they've done the past couple of years of where like that's been like the main panel where they just talk about all of the new upcoming projects, and they're not doing that this
They're not
year.
doing a Lucasfilm panel?
Nope, because if that was, that would be
Isn't
probably
that
one of the
unheard of? Have they ever not had a Lucasfilm panel?
well, they didn't have one over at 2017. I don't remember they did. Because of they had one for the 40th anniversary, they had one for Rebels, they had one for the Last Jedi. They didn't have like a Lucasfilm one. I think the
Wait,
first one
is that
that
the one where Harrison Ford and John Williams and everything were there?
yeah. Yeah.
I mean, I would consider that like a Lucasfilm panel, right?
I mean,
I
yeah,
thought
but
that was the Lucasfilm panel, now that I think about it.
they didn't announce anything.
They didn't
That
announce
was
anything, but they still like that was like
okay.
everybody was
Well,
there. I mean,
well,
George was there.
right. I guess
That
I would
if George is there, it's a Lucasfilm panel.
I would probably say a Lucasfilm panel is more of where like they're talking about new things and announcing new stuff. So think of it like a showcase of where they're showing off the new projects going in. To me, that's what a Lucasfilm panel would be. And I think we'll get new announcements from all the projects that are currently on the list.
But
Panels
there's a
that they
big
have, but
I think there's a big pressure to keep Star Wars coming for at least Disney Plus. You got to have at least one show a year to keep that, people interested in that platform, you know what I mean? Like,
right, and I think they will be doing that
I mean,
next
I think
year.
we're going to get a cartoon for sure.
Yes,
As
and
animated, yeah.
we are getting Andor.
But that's this year.
Right.
What I'm thinking, like next year, Ahsoka.
I
What
would
other?
probably guess that. I would probably say Ahsoka would probably come out next year if they're filming now and they're almost done with production. I'm guessing that they're almost done
Yeah, what
with
else could there
production.
be that we don't know about? Because Mandalorian and Grogu is a movie.
Right. Which again, that to me that is going to be real interesting just because of that of turning that show into a movie when they're already talking about doing a season 4 after the movie is kind of interesting. I don't know if they're doing it specifically because they're like, hey, we need us like Star Wars to be back in the theater or what, but
Well, it makes them $1 billion. It makes more sense to me.
right. And as far as I know, this is the lowest budget Star Wars movie that they've made since they've gotten the property. The budget for it was pretty low. I don't know. I don't remember the exact number. It was like 166 million or something like that. I could be absolutely wrong on that, but it was something around that number. And they also shot it all in LA. They didn't go to, big locations like they do
That's
traditionally
pretty
on a movie.
crazy.
So, I just hope it doesn't feel like Moana 2. Did you see that movie?
No, I didn't.
Okay, the reason why I'm bringing it up is because that movie was actually supposed to be a show on Disney Plus, and then they transformed it into a movie, and you
Yeah,
could tell when you were watching that movie that it was meant to be a TV show. So I hope that it
because
doesn't
there were
feel
commercials in the middle of it.
well.
We'll be
There were
right
just
back
weird
after these messages.
pauses where like you could tell when it was going to be at the end of an actual
Of an
episode,
episode.
and I
Yeah.
yeah, and I just hope they don't do that. I don't think they would do that, but
Credits start rolling.
yeah. So yeah, there is a lot to look forward to. I'm definitely excited to see the next Star Wars projects coming up. I
Well,
don't.
yeah, hopefully we hear about something that's a little bit further in development that maybe we didn't know about, or
Yeah,
because they're always announcing stuff and then it disappears. I'd be happy if they said a Book of Boba Fett season 2,
yeah,
you know,
yeah,
or something with the Marshal on Tatooine. We never heard anything with him.
yeah, yeah.
He was in the back to tank.
I still think there's a lot of ground to cover.
Yeah.
And
But Boba just doesn't work as like a crime lord like he was. And even they kind of said it at the end.
yeah, it. There's a lot that they still need to talk about. There's a lot of characters that have to be reintroduced on screen. I feel like there's a lot to uh to add and transpire, but I'm definitely excited to see where it goes. I can't wait to see Black Chrysanthemum on screen. I think of seeing him on screen again. I think that character was so cool, and I would love to see him come back. And
Or Captain Rex.
yep, yeah, to Mara Morrison would be a huge like. We technically did get Captain Rex and Ahsoka, but
Yeah.
it was just a flashback.
He only
And
had like one line also.
I mean, still, it was still
I
pretty
was
cool
happy,
though.
but
Oh yeah, yeah.
but it would have been cool if he was in that a little bit longer.
Yep. So here's hoping that he gets more of a role than him being a clone on like a homeless clone on the side of the street. I hope that we get more of him and maybe he leads the charge to go find Ahsoka in season 2 of Ahsoka and like he's there because to me that would make sense if he was more involved, but it just depends on what they want to do with that
Yeah.
character. But yeah.
How about a buddy movie, like a buddy cop movie, and it's Luke and Ahsoka?
We still don't have the on-screen appearance, or I don't think even in the comics or anything yet, of where they've
No,
told the
that I'm
story
aware of.
of how they met, because I think that meeting would be real interesting.
But I think I remember Dave saying that he had the scene in his mind. I think I remember him saying that somewhere.
Okay.
That he knows like how it happens.
Yeah. Well,
That'd be really cool.
here is hoping.
So we're gonna have a lot more news in the next few weeks after Celebration. Is David gonna do any podcasts while he's there?
I believe we were gonna try and team up and do recordings after, because there's a big time difference. I think he's bringing his recording stuff, so I mean
that
I
would be
hope
cool.
he would be, but yeah,
if we could do some live shows.
Yeah.
While he's there, he's like running to his seat. I'm here. Has Howard Japan?
Yeah, we were talking about the other day of how the Wi-Fi wasn't the best at our hotels in London. Yeah. So hopefully it's a lot better in Japan. But we'll be coordinating as a team, figuring out of the panel situation and the time difference and stuff like that. So we will definitely be covering all the news either way. But yeah.
What else we want to talk about?
We
have some sad news.
Yes. The actor, the original voice of Emperor Palpatine in Empire Strikes Back, Clive Reville, passed away at age 94. He was not the on-screen appearance of the Emperor. He was just a voice, but I feel like in a way that kind of helped pave of what the Emperor became down the road with Ian McDermott and all that. So um, it's a sad day when someone from this amazing franchise passes away. But they will never be forgotten. Our
Mourn them,
thoughts,
do not. Miss them, do
missed.
not.
Yes, there you go. Our thoughts go
Rejoice for
out.
them.
Our thoughts go out to the family. But yeah, yeah. Is there anything else? I think we covered a
Well,
decent
we
amount in a
covered
short period.
Andor. We covered
Yeah.
early Star Wars Celebration. We covered the game coming out, the VR game.
Yep.
I can't think of anything else that's been going on in the Star Wars world. Oh, we
Yeah.
talked about Disneyland and them getting the new
Oh
show, or we
yeah.
didn't talk about that yet.
No. We talked about that before we started recording. But there's at Galaxy's Edge, and this is just at Disneyland, unfortunately. But there is going to be a new. It's not like a full fireworks show. It is more basically like projection, but they're doing it like this storyteller character is telling like the story of the Skywalker saga through projections on these spires, and there'll be I don't think it's gonna be like an exact storytelling of being like Luke Skywalker did this, Luke Skywalker did exactly this, but it's gonna be more of as you're telling a story, kind of like how 3PO was retelling their adventures to the Ewoks in Return of the Jedi, like something in the lines of that. You can find the preview of it on the Disney Parks social media pages, but
It's so frustrating that all the stuff goes to Disneyland
I
and we don't.
know.
I live in Orlando, and so
Yeah.
I take the kids to Disney all the time, and there's just we don't get Ahsoka walking around. It took us forever to get Mandalorian and Grogu to finally walk around, and I haven't seen him in a while, by the way. But
Yeah. Oh, interesting.
is he still there?
Yes.
Yeah, I haven't seen him walking around in a while.
Huh.
But all the other, the other Disney gets all the stuff. They get Luke coming. They get those little duck droids walking around.
Yeah. They also had like a full reveal of what Luke Skywalker is gonna look like as well, because they're having Luke and R2 actually um be characters where
My kids
they'll
would
be.
love that. It's
I know. I know. I know. I get it. I am with you.
no
But
reason for that. I mean, literally, there's absolutely no reason that they can't have Luke walking around here. Also, makes no sense.
well, and I keep hearing different things because Disneyland is more of where they have to, they mainly rely on the locals, I guess, for people going to Disneyland. So they have to be constantly making new stuff to, bring more people in. And then, Disney World is more on that global scale just because the parks are bigger. So I
The
know.
cost to do it is so minimal. It's like literally selling 5 sodas that you can add, pay a person to walk around the park all day or a few hours a day. You know what I mean?
I don't know. I don't know
A
the
soda is like
logistics of
$20
everything.
there. You can't you can't hire someone to go walking around with R2. You know what I mean? Like even a few hours a day.
I have seen R2 at. Yeah, I have seen him at Galaxy's Edge like once.
I don't remember. I've never seen him.
It was it was like a special cast member event thing, like after hours.
Oh,
And they had like Chewie there, and Chewie Chewie was hanging out in the Falcon as you were going on Smuggler's Run and stuff like that. So I've only seen, those type of moments. But they are having the First Order Stormtroopers actually go into Ogre's Cantina a lot, which is weird.
yes.
Yeah.
Where I
I've been
actually
seeing that
went
more
to
and more.
Oga's. I hadn't been to Oga's in a long time when we went last time we were there, which is probably like 2 or 3 weeks ago. And the
Yeah.
stormtroopers came and were walking in and out, and that's cool. Especially for the kids.
Yeah.
Too bad
Yep.
they're first order stormtroopers, but that's a whole nother issue. Give me
Things
some
will
give me some Mandalorian remnant troopers or something.
yeah. Things will be changing, down the road. That's my guess anyway.
The sooner the better.
Okay.
Let's get away from the sequel trilogy and go towards the Mandalorian timeline.
Don't act like you're not excited for the new missions that they're having over at Smuggler's Run.
I am, but that's Mandalorian timeline.
Yeah, I'm
I
still
mean,
intrigued of what they're gonna end up you know doing. So, yeah.
I don't know. Do you think it's going to be one new mission, or you think it's going to be multiple, like at Star Tours? By the way, Star Tours is still an incredible ride. Like I said, I was just there a few weeks ago. The whole, what do you want to call it, Star Cruiser, with all the people we were riding with, were screaming and hollering and yelling
Yeah.
at the top of their lungs like it was a brand new ride last time we were there. It was great. My daughter was screaming. It was wild. I mean, the ride is like 40 years old and people still love it.
Yeah. Yeah, Star Tours is great.
It's still a great ride.
Yes. I can't wait to see what they end up doing more with it, because I think we'll definitely get more. All of the Purgle stuff that they ended up doing was super cool, and they added like a new kind of cutscene with Mando and Grogu, and then Andor as well, and so
There,
yeah.
what would have been a great one? The escape from Aldani with all the celestial, whatever they were, meteors when they're
Oh
flying away.
yeah, yeah.
That would be such a great update to that ride.
In a
Flying through that.
way, I think that would be a throwback to like the original Star Tours, because in the original Star Tours they had to wear like they would go through like that kind of crystal asteroid field thing, and it was like shooting stars in the
Oh,
background.
that's right. I forgot
Yeah,
about that.
yeah,
And when it would hit it, it used to light up in there, right? Like
yeah.
flashes of light.
I would love if they just didn't say anything one day, and then guests got on board and they did the original Star Tours mission, like just without saying anything. I think that would be one of the coolest surprises of all time.
It would be a shock. But it's Rex who pilots that, right?
Yeah, yeah. I mean,
So
they can make it work. They could like block 3PO for like, like have like a blast door thing go up and just be like, of just
but
having
yeah,
the
so
OG
I am
Rex.
looking forward to seeing new updates on the rides. But they said the Falcon ride that updates the day that Mandalorian and Grogu comes out in theaters. They announced that. So,
Yep.
and it's supposed to be like a side mission that takes place off screen during the events of the movie.
Interesting. There you go.
So that'll be cool.
Yeah. It's gonna be busy over there. That whole yeah, every single year when May comes around, it just gets super super big. So
Well, let's see what other kind of surprise. It looks like they're selling a mouse droid too.
yes,
That
yes, which
looks
is
like
a
maybe
lot.
remote controlled or something.
It will be a larger. So a couple of years ago, they were actually selling mouse droids. They were not up to scale. They were small. You could remote control them, absolutely, but I think these ones will definitely be more up to scale, and then they're the controls and stuff for it will definitely be more advanced than what they had on the old one. But yeah.
So hopefully that'll be cool. So I guess we'll see that soon.
Yep. I guarantee you those will sell out super quick. But yeah. So
Well, I think we covered a lot.
yeah, I think so too. We'll be covering more and more every single week as we approach Andor and Celebration, and we're gonna have uh David and James and friends over there, so we'll definitely be covering all that. Please go follow us on Facebook, the Star Wars Stuff group and Star Wars Stuff podcast page. Go to our
And
email.
please write us a review. Even if you don't like us, give us 5 stars. Just give us 5 stars.
Oh my goodness. Okay.
It really helps. It takes 5 seconds.
Okay. We're also on TikTok. Search Star Wars Stuff Podcast. Please go on our Patreon. A big shout out to all of our Patreon users. We love you all. You can find us on Patreon at Star Wars Stuff Podcast 2187. We're also on Twitch, Star Wars Stuff Gaming. As Craig 5 just said, go to Apple Podcast and please give us a review. We have a website, starwarstuffpodcast.com. And then we're also on Instagram, SW Stuff Podcast. Again, SW Stuff Podcast. We've been getting some word that it's been difficult to find it. So it's not Star Wars Stuff Podcast. It's SW Stuff Podcast, just because we lost our original over a year ago. So if you can't find it, that's why. So type in SW Stuff Podcast. I cannot advertise that more enough. If that's everything, my name is Colin.
Craig 5 standing by.
And may the force be with you always.